Was Jeffrey Epstein a spy, in your opinion? Or experience, I should say.
I believe pretty firmly that Jeffrey Epstein was a spy, but not in the traditional sense of a James Bond kind of spy. I think that he was what we call an access agent. I'll tell you one thing that bothers me very much about these documents in the latest tranche. I have a very particular interest in John Brennan. John and I have known each other for 36 years. John Brennan, it was always my belief, was a murderous sociopath. And what we saw in these latest documents was the Obama White House General Counsel, Catherine Remler, who just last week was asked to resign as the General Counsel for Goldman Sachs. Catherine Remler sending an email to Jeffrey Epstein saying, John Brennan gave me the CIA's highest honor today. Pretty neat, huh? Well, I was at the CIA for 15 years. I know what honor she got. That honor was reserved for CIA officers who were killed in the line of duty. So what in the world could Catherine Remler have possibly done to warrant the CIA's highest honor? An honor that is reserved for the organization's greatest heroes. And then she tried repeatedly to get Jeffrey Epstein and John Brennan together for breakfast or for lunch. We don't know if she was ever successful because Brennan's not talking. And if there was a response, it wasn't released in this latest tranche. But like I said, there were so many other lines of investigation that were revealed to us that I'm not sure we could ever get through it. And everybody's implicated.
John's right. We may never get to know the entire Epstein story, but in a world of powerful elites, politicians, white-collar crime, human trafficking, and everything else that comes with the Epstein files, there's two people who might be able to provide some sort of insight and provide an interesting angle to the story. It's an ex-gangster and a defected CIA agent, and in their discussion we learned some things that most people seem to have missed, so let's take a listen.
An access agent is, well, to explain an access agent, let's say that you are a foreign intelligence service and you want information from some of the most powerful, some of the most important people on Earth. You're not going to recruit Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or Prince Andrew or the British ambassador of the United States. Those people are not recruitable and they don't need money. So money's not going to motivate them. So you hire instead somebody who has access to those people. Somebody who can wine them and dine them, make them comfortable, have them drop their guard. They speak a little bit out of school, and then you can report that back to your handlers. That's valuable information.
Recent psychological studies suggest that the human mind tends to mistakenly think from its own perspective rather than what it should be doing, which is thinking from the perspective of those who we're trying to seek more information from. Hollywood has skewed the human mind into thinking that intelligence officers are 007 agents or Mr. and Mrs. Smith couples. We fail to realize that the CIA knows this and they use it against us. It's not even controversial, really. I mean, they're a secret intelligence agency. It's their job to keep secrets. But in order to keep them in check, we also have to think like them. John, who has often told the story of being recruited out of a school himself, can't ignore Epstein's background and the similarity. And he also can't ignore his training officers, who told him exactly the type of people intelligence agencies go after.
When I was in training, when I was in CIA training, one of my instructors said something that has stuck with me for all these years. He said that the best recruitment he ever made over a 30-year career was a copy machine repairman. And we all laughed. And he said, hear me out. We all wish that we could go overseas and recruit the prime minister. None of us are going to recruit the prime minister. But you recruit a copy machine repairman knowing that the prime minister's copy machine is going to go down eventually, or it's going to need to be serviced or cleaned. And so When that happens, he goes into the prime minister's office. Security is there to make sure, he doesn't steal documents or whatever. He's not interested in that. What he does is, as he's cleaning and servicing the copy machine, he's installing a little device that we created so that every time somebody makes a copy on that machine, it transmits a copy to Langley. That's an access agent. You haven't recruited the prime minister, but you did the next best thing, because everything the prime minister is seeing, you are now seeing. I believe that Mossad recruited Jeffrey Epstein as an access agent, either to collect information from these very, very important people, or to plant the Mossad's point of view on XYZ issue in the minds of these very important people. Now, in this latest tranche of the Epstein documents, among horrors, we also learned that he repeatedly reached out to the CIA and the FBI, volunteering to help them and to do work for them. He did the same with the British MI5 and MI6, and he repeatedly attempted to engage with what was then the KGB, now the SVR, to get a one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin. The Russians actually offered him a meeting with Putin and 2 national security aides, and he turned it down. He said he needed for it to be one-on-one with Putin, and the Russians weren't biting. So I think that this was all about the Mossad, and then I think that he thought maybe he could freelance a little bit and just see what else he could come up with.
This next clip is definitely something that I think most people have not really considered, at least in the way that John is considering it. Before we get into that, if you like this video, please hit the like button. It is the easiest way to help out the channel. Hit the subscription button and the notification bell so you get more notifications of this content. Now, back into it. So the thing that John is looking at a little bit more than everyone else is the why. Why did Les Wexner give him so much money, assets, and power over his life? Now, don't get me wrong. People are definitely looking at this, but John's looking at it from a little bit of a different angle. And this harkens back to a checks and balances procedure that is followed by a lot of government agencies as well as businesses. And that is what is known as the chain of custody. Everything from a murder weapon to insider trading can be revealed through just that, a chain of custody. And in this case, what really needs to be followed is the money. That and who introduced Epstein to so many people. How did Epstein go from becoming a math teacher to friends and running around with the elite? One thing that John really looks at is who goes beyond Les Wexner. Everyone in the general public, by and large, are really focused on Les Wexner himself. But John asks, who introduced Epstein to Les?
Brought up something interesting. I only learned about this recently. What do you think the connection between the Rothschilds, because that's like stunning, and Epstein, how did that even come about?
It is completely unexplained in these documents. See, these 3 million documents, Mike, this was like a tease for the American public. And there are still between 2.7 million and 3 million more pages that haven't been released, and according to Pam Bondi, now won't be released. But we're teased with this information about the Rothschilds to the point where Congress subpoenas Les Wexner, and he just teases more. In fact, you may have seen the clip from his testimony on YouTube where a congressman asks him a question and he gives what appears to be an honest answer. And on a hot mic, his lawyer leans in and he says, "I will kill you if next time you don't answer the question yes or no." So they don't want us to know the details of the origins of these relationships. There's something there that is embarrassing, that is humiliating, that is possibly dangerous, that they just don't want us to know about.
Can we really be surprised that when you follow the chain of connections, it leads to a generational, rich and powerful banking family? It's almost as if the personal connections and the money go hand in hand. But one thing we still are not discussing is the human trafficking part of Jeffrey Epstein. Once again, John provides some insight about the beef jerky that I've never really considered until now.
They talk about beef jerky in something like 1,500 different emails. Jeffrey's having the guy over to make the beef jerky. The guy's coming over to teach us how to make beef jerky. We're going to make the beef jerky. We're going to freeze the beef jerky. I love beef jerky. They talk about beef jerky 9 ways from Sunday, but you know what they never talk about? They never talk about eating beef jerky. And so what are they actually talking about? Is it children? Right. Is it people? We don't know. There are more questions now after the release of these 3 million pages than we had before we knew anything at all.
I think what this interview shows is that we as common people have to start thinking about this from other perspectives. And it is important to be cautious of this growing CIA agent subgenre that is growing online and on YouTube. But I will say John particularly is probably pissing the CIA off a little bit more than he is being their friend. I mean, they did send him to prison after all. But we can't ignore that we are currently living in a time where an ex-mob member out of the two may just be the more trustworthy voice. And that in and of itself is another interesting thought. But let me know your thoughts. Is John trustworthy? Is he providing an interesting perspective? Is there anything that everyone else is missing? Leave the comments down below. Once again, please hit the like button. It helps out a ton, and we will see you next time.